Hi, Sean Huxter here. Welcome to Magical Little Worlds with me, and also Sydney Swift, and I'll explain. So, as you know, over the last year, I've created this set, which I absolutely love. This is the FDM, not the finished version, but it's a prototype. The finished version is in resin and looks much nicer. This is the Sydney Swift Shuts Down the Steam Power Punk, which is a full set designed after, you know, the Mighty Max sets, my beloved Mighty Max sets. And I'm about to embark on a new one. And the reason I'm bringing this up tonight is recently I did this cardboard model of an anglerfish. And I did mention in that review that my next playset, my next Doom Zone type playset, is going to be based on an anglerfish. And so I thought I would bring out some concepts. And this is going to be new because I haven't done this before. I haven't discussed projects before I got started modeling. But tonight I'm going to, just to show you what's coming. And I hope you kind of follow along, because I hope to produce progress videos as I go. So, first of all, we're going to base the next set on an anglerfish. And it is going to look something like this. Not necessarily exactly like this. Sydney Swift's encounter with a manglerfish. So, it's going to be an anglerfish, kind of, with a body that hinges back here. So, what we're going to do is we're going to make this bottom part of the body is going to be kind of a base, and then from here the whole body hinges upward, and this fin is going to be set into the body, but this fin is going to be in a slot on the body, so that when you open this up, the slot lifts away. The slot then fits over the tail, so this whole thing slips up, the slot fits over the tail, revealing a creature inside that forms the fin. And then there's going to be these other two creatures that form the side fins. The tongue is going to be a huge slug creature of some sort. And we are going to have the escus, the light. And I am going to try to fiber optically light that from within. We'll see how that goes. And then here's just some concepts. This is what it's going to look like from the top, maybe. This is the fin creature inside, based on a nautilus shell and maybe a squid. And then there's going to be some skeletons and things. The villain is going to be called the Diver. And we're hoping to do like a giant clam and some tentacles. And, you know, it's going to be the kind of set where it's going to be a bit creepier, but I hope that it's going to evolve as I go. So these are concepts, but these are only concepts. There's no way my final product is going to end up looking exactly like this, because generally when I start a toy like this, I draw concepts, but the real creation happens when I start modeling. So, like, these are some images of the anglerfish, show the fins like this. So, I'm hoping to have maybe a slug creature, some sort of thing. Again, these are just ideas. Not all of this will make it into the set. This one is definitely going in some form. I don't know if it's going to look like this, but I kind of hope it does. And these, as I say, these fins will stick out of the back. Here are some of the creatures I want to do. I definitely want to do some coral, you know, around as deco. I almost want to do a seahorse, but I'm not sure. Maybe some jellyfish, I don't know. But this thing here, I want to be sort of the tongue. And then something else, again, I want to maybe do a dragon. Not all this is going to make it, but like I said, this is definitely going in. I definitely want to do a sea star of some kind. I'm not sure. But this is going to be the tongue. So the tongue will stick out into the base of the manglerfish, but I'm not quite sure what the head's going to look like yet. It could look like this. It could look like this, with arms twisted, with multiple jointed arms. If I do arms, I'm going to make them multi-jointed, so they're not just two-jointed, look too human. I want it to look like definitely freakishly interesting. And maybe tentacles, not sure. What I landed on are some of the monsters, maybe the Tempest Beast, the Maelstrom, the Cyclone Creep, the Squalor, and the Typhoonodon. And this is like the Squalor Beast. But I'm not sure. Maybe it's the Tempest Beast. I don't know. That's going to form as I go. So we have this here, the Cyclone. And the thing is about Cyclone is that it's made of the shell. And this shell, when fossilized, there is an ancient creature called the ammonite. And so I'm going to maybe call this the ammonite. And then the Squalor Squid here, which I want to make like a squid thing with tentacles, but maybe like there are webbed skin between the tentacles, and those will form the side fins of the anglerfish. And then maybe an undersea plant of some kind, like the typhoon weed or a pentacle. And then my villain is going to be the deep diver, deep sea diver. And I really want to fiber optic him as well, so his head lights up, but I don't know. So why do I bring up all this up tonight? Because I thought as research, when I was out at Michael's today, I found a really cool set from Safari. Now, I've done one of these sets before, and it was, well, two. I did the Friendly Aliens and the Friendly Monsters sets, and they're tubes, and they come from Safari Limited as a little square tube of plastic filled with creatures of some sort, or animals, or ships, or pirates. They do a very large series of these. But tonight, I'm going to do deep sea creatures. Inspired by my Mangler fish obsession, I'm going to show you the deep sea creatures Safari tube. Now, I bought this partly for inspiration because I love deep sea fish. The mystery of the deep sea fish is kind of one that has always fascinated me, and the anglerfish in particular, because the anglerfish has this great light that it uses to lure other fish into its mouth, which I think is absolutely crazy, but wonderful. And this deals with a bunch of creatures that actually exist, and they exist in the deepest regions of the ocean, where, you know, humans aren't supposed to go, but, you know, thanks to technology, we have gone, we've seen some of these things. And we now have, you know, incontrovertible proof that these things actually do exist. And they're the strangest creatures in the world because they live in an environment where there's practically no light, incredibly dense pressures, and cold. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 creatures. Let's go over them one by one. I don't have a lot of detail, but I do have the names. So let's have a look. This, for example, this is a viperfish. And I'm going to say that these are fairly well represented renderings of the actual fish involved. Definitely very cool. As to scale, I don't know, but this is a giant isopod. Now, if you've seen something like this on the land, much like what we used to call in Newfoundland, we call carpenters or maybe woodlice. Very much similar, very similar in that respect. And again, I don't know what scale this is supposed to be, whether this is 3 feet long, I hope not, or microscopic, I have no clue. And these are not going to be scaled in any kind of similar way. But the detail is very nice. And one of the reasons I bought this set is inspiration for my own set. So maybe something will end up looking a bit like this. Maybe the tongue beast will have kind of like a plated tongue instead of what I was picturing. But again, this is going to help me decide how to build my Mangler fish. And I keep calling it, remember, the set, I called it Sydney Swift Encounters a Mangler Fish, but that's because it's a play on the anglerfish, and it's a mangler, like, you know, it's a monster beast that's mangling things. But this is going to be further inspiration for it. Then we have a dragonfish. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't, like, uncoil. But again, a dragonfish is another deep-sea creature, and it seems like all deep-sea creatures are just ugly. I guess because there's nobody to see them? I don't know. So this is just like, almost, I would say it's almost like an eel, you know? I didn't do a lot of research on these. I don't have a lot of details, but I'm using them for inspiration, for visual inspiration. Then we have the hatchetfish. Very shiny silver, and that's not unusual. A lot of fish are very silvery. This is kind of cool. No paint on this. This is entirely silver, but this may be exactly what it looks like. Next, the gulper eel. Again, very similar to the previous one. Very eel-like. But look at the mouths and jaws on these things are just nuts. And again, I've seen photos of some of these. So, you know, this is not a far stretch from reality. Who knew, right, that these things live so far below the ocean that most of them haven't been discovered until fairly recently. Again, their scales are all over the place. And then we have the glass squid. Now, I really like this model because it's clear, which inspires me again. Maybe some of my creatures will be clear. I hadn't really considered doing clear creatures. I have considered making the interior of the Mangler fish translucent blue or something like that, and then having the exterior be painted purple or something like that again. Not sure. But again, it's possible I'll just do the whole thing in translucent colors. I don't know. But this gives me an inspiration to make those side fish and maybe all of the fins translucent. Certainly the escus, the light, is going to be translucent because I need to make it translucent if I'm going to fiber optically light it. But maybe the fins will also be translucent. This gives me lots of ideas, and I love it. And finally, our anglerfish. Now, as you can see from my drawings, I'm not going to design it quite like this. And there are a number of different species too, so they're not all like this. Like you know, they do kind of have this jaw that looks like almost like a piranha's jaw in some way. And I am definitely going to do the teeth, but I'm not going to do this lower jaw with an angled body. I think this whole mouth is going to be a flat piece, and then the body's going to angle back like you've seen in the photographs I showed and in the concept sketches I showed. But I do like the idea of doing the fins in translucent colors. And that harkens back to my idea that the glass squid is going to inspire something about the side fin creature. See how these side fins come out here? Not quite where they are here, but in my model, this body's going to open up, and these side fins are going to be creatures that kind of insert into the body, and then you close it over the fin, which is going to be the tail of the creature. And this tail is when you lift up the body, it's going to, the slot that has this fin, which is actually one of the creatures, that slot that this fits over is going to slot back onto the tail. And then, of course, the light is going to be a fiber optic. The eyes are going to be much bigger, I think. I'm not going to do small eyes. I'm going to do rather large eyes. And they're going to be glass or plastic domes. And I'm still not quite sure how I'm going to do those, whether I'm going to 3D print them or use domes. But I got some really clever ideas for those too. It's also not going to be very thin. I'm going to make it a wider fish just to have some more play area. But, you know, I wanted to bring this up because I'm going to be probably doing some videos as I progress. And unlike the last one, in which I've just did some posts on Facebook about it, I didn't really do a lot of videos on the production of this, not as I go. I did a few, but I'm hoping that as I develop the Mangler fish, I'll be producing videos more on the process and not just the final result. So for all my deep sea creatures, my weird, monstrous, but real creatures, this has been Sean Huckster. This is Magical Little Worlds, and we'll see you soon. Good night.